Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, a round of applause for LXS Entertainment. We can make the applause louder. What a beautiful way to begin day 2 of the Gender and Inclusion Summit, organized by the Policy Innovation Center. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. If you were here yesterday, and let me find out by a quick poll, a show of hands. If you were here yesterday, please raise your hand. All right. So if you were here yesterday, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you would agree with me that it was such an enlightening session. All the sessions were inspiring, thought-provoking. They were so informative. And we're here for day 2. And we believe that it keeps getting better. The conversations keep getting richer. So thank you once again, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this morning. My name is Temi Badru, and it's such an honor to stand before you today as the Master of Ceremonies. I'll be guiding us through the program today, and I believe that we'll have such a wonderful event today. Now, we begin this morning with a breakout session. We have 3 breakout sessions which are going to be holding concurrently. So I'll guide us through these sessions so that we can join them in the different places. And before we go into that, I'd like to quickly recognize everyone who is joining us virtually. I believe that we have a large audience following online. We'd like to say thank you. Thank you for joining us from different parts of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us from different parts of Africa. Thank you for joining us from different parts of the world. Thank you so much. We're coming to you live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Thank you for joining us. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we're going into the breakout session now. And the first one, I'll just guide us through the breakout sessions. You may have registered for them already, or you may just want to get familiar or get acquainted with them. If you turn the program to page 13, you'd find the details right there. So the first one is holding in Ballroom 4. Ballroom 4 is at the back of this hall, the back of the main hall, and it's titled, How Do We Address Gender Disparities That Exacerbate Poverty? So please, that's holding at the back of this hall, Ballroom 4. And the moderator for this session is Dr. Oluwatobiloba Modi, Director, World Intellectual Property Organization. That's the first breakout room, Ballroom 4. The panelists are standing by. You find a list of their names and titles on page 13 of the conference program. So Ballroom 4, that's where you Fireside chat on state policy and on state policy response to food insecurity. And this one is going to be moderated by the Commissioner for Agriculture, State Ministry of Agriculture, Gusau, Zamfara State. So the moderator, Honorable Yao Haruna Gamji, is going to be leading us through that session, and that's holding right here in the main hall. So if you're waiting for the main session or for this session holding in the main hall, I beg your pardon, that's holding right here. Now the third session, remember that I mentioned that we have 3 breakout sessions. The third session is titled Empowering Women Through Digital Innovation. And that one is holding in Acacia A and B. Now, if you're wondering where Acacia A and B is, coming from the registration desk, coming from outside, the first hall, by your left, that's Acacia A and B. Now, if you need further directions on how to get to these halls, our ushers are standing by and they're ready to guide you. So the ushers are happy to guide you if you need further details. And right on the doorpost of the hall, you'll find the names written boldly. But our ushers are happy to guide you if you need further direction. So we'd like to say, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome. Please let's go into the different breakout sessions. If you're joining online and you'd like to attend one of the breakout sessions, you can click on the screen to pick the breakout session you want to go to or the one you have registered for. We'll come back after the breakout session and the conversation continues. Once again, thank you and see you in the breakout sessions.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Fireside chat on state policy response to food insecurity. Food insecurity, the limited or uncertain access to nutritious food, which also includes limitation on the ability to obtain nutritious food in ways that are socially acceptable. Approximately about 2.4 billion people worldwide about moderate to severe food insecurity. Hunger in Nigeria is driven by situations such as conflicts, insecurity, rising inflation, and the impacts of the climate crisis. The news is replete with stories of flooding across the country, and we're advised to brace up. All this happened amidst the fact that approximately about 26.5 million people across the country are projected to face acute hunger in around this period. As a result of lean season, a significant increase from the 18.6 million people who were food insecure at the end of 2023. Nigeria ranks 109th of 125 countries in the global hunger index. That's from 2023 data, with a serious level of hunger 3. To moderate this session will be done by Professor Tassi and I will welcome him to help us introduce our distinct panelists. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Kemi, for giving us the context. We are honored to have, we are told that agriculture happens at the state, right? And so we're honored to have distinguished honorable commissioners or their representatives from the respective states that the policy support for economic growth is working in. We have the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture, Kaduna State. Please, sir, could you come up? Thank you. We have the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture in Zamfara State, represented by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Zamfara State. We also have the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture, Plateau State, represented by Dr. Yokude, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Plateau State. I don't know if we have the representative of the Honorable Commissioner for Budget and Planning for Sokoto State. Here? Okay. Okay. No? And then the representative of the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture, Nasarawa State. And do we have a representative of the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture, Kano State? Representative from Kano State. Thank you. So So thank you very much, representatives at the various ministries of agriculture in the 6 focal states we're working on. Agriculture is very important in Nigeria and globally, and we are interested, we hear in the news what the federal government is doing, the policies they are making, but there seems to be some quiet in what's happening at the state level. And so we're very, very interested in understanding what's going on at the state level, particularly when we're talking about issues of food insecurity. So we'll start in an alphabetical order, and we'd like to hear from what is happening at the state. How are we addressing concerns about food insecurity? And of particular importance is we're told that people with disabilities are more impacted when there are issues of food insecurity. So if you could also speak to, because we have a strong delegation from JONAPID, which is the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities, and I'm sure they will have lots of questions to ask. So it would be good if you can also recognize that and speak to what you're doing at that level at the state. So Honorable Commissioner for Kaduna State, please. We'd like to hear from you. What is Kaduna State doing as regards issues of food insecurity?
Well, good morning. Food insecurity is, of course, as we all witness, a growing threat in the nation right now. And look at even the rising food prices right now. And Kaduna, happily, we are doing very well in especially the food crops. You know, maize, particularly, we are leading, doing close to 20% of the nation's production. But one thing the state is consciously doing since the governor came in is to see how do we improve yields, because majority of our farmers are smallholder farmers in the state. Almost 80% of our farmers are smallholder farmers. So what we are now doing is to target the yield especially, because on the average, they do maybe 1.5 to 2 tons per hectare for maize. And averagely, I mean, with proper agronomic practices, access to quality inputs, which the state is consciously pushing to give quality seeds now and perhaps fertilizers. Just recently, we shared about 15,000 tons to our smallholder farmers free of charge. All that is to push the productivity, And with good extension service, because right now we notice there is gap in the ratio of farmers to extension workers. And the governor has also approved, we are recruiting new extension workers, which, I mean, we know the push is for them to counsel and guide our farmers with proper agronomic practices such that there will be improved yield. And what's our target is to move the yield of these smallholder farmers to at least 4.5 tons to a hectare. I believe with that, we'll have improved productivity, and it will also address the food security issue. Then perhaps our over-reliance on rain-fed agriculture. And the state has about 12 irrigation schemes. So we are aggressively pursuing to rehabilitate them because most of them are silted. So, you know, to even harvest the rainwaters is difficult because the dams are silted. So we are working aggressively to rehabilitate these irrigation schemes, and also we are partnering with private sector to build new ones. What do we hope to achieve here? All year-round farming. Because if we are going to rely on rain-fed agriculture alone, then, I mean, we will not achieve much. But with all year-round farming, it will definitely improve on the productivity and address the food insecurity issue. These are just a few things. And, you know, access to finance again, because mostly our farmers lack access to finance. And as a state, we have over 200 warehouses. We went into partnership with private sector now. They are going to run it, rehabilitate them, and then we will have warehousing facility there and then warehouse receipt system. That way, just last 2 weeks, I think, an MOU was signed between the private sector, that's Star Agri, and Alternate Bank. And what do we hope to achieve? When most of these smallholder farmers harvest, because warehousing is an issue. So a lot of post-harvest losses. With proper warehousing, they can keep it there safe in a good condition and also access percentage of that funds from a bank. That will improve their access to finance and it's a no-brainer. Once this warehousing facility comes on board, broad spectrum of our farmers will have good access to financing. So I think these are just a few things I can mention.
Thank you.
Well done, Honorable Commissioner, on the great work you're doing. We'll go on now to the Honorable Commissioner of Agriculture and Natural Resources for Kano State, Dr. Danjuma. Can you kindly just speak on some of the private, the partnership with the private sector that you have engaged with and some of the outcomes and its impact on the work you're doing?
From Kano State.
Kano State. Okay. Yes.
Organizers of this event, distinguished participants, good morning. Kano State, being strategically located in the Sudan Savannah ecological zones, is blessed with abundant land and water bodies across the state. Land area of the state is about 20,760 square kilometers, with distinct seasons, wet and dry. The abundant water bodies permit all year round production. In spite of all this, there are food insecurity challenges in the state as a result of so many factors. Notably among them are climate change, desertification, etc. With the government policy on agriculture, which is geared towards ensuring increase in food supply for basic staple crop foods to ensure food security in the state, various efforts are put in place by the government to ensure that food security is attained. With the coming of this administration of Engineer Abba Kabir Yusuf, many activities were lined up to ensure that response food insecurity is addressed. Among them are: 1, increase to access to agricultural land under which new hectares of land were opened. Over 445 hectares of irrigation land at Pottery Irrigation Scheme is currently ongoing for development. Equally, about 420 hectares of irrigation land is being developed at Carpentry Irrigation Scheme in Garko local government of the state. To address this issue, another 500 hectares of land is being underdeveloped for irrigation purposes at Ansocia in Kiru town, Kiru local government of Kano State. Prohibition of land is not only the areas where state intervene to ensure food security, but it also supports farmers with agricultural inputs like seeds, fertilizers, agrochemicals, and in addition to training of farmers through our network of extension workers across the state. equally, livestock sector is affected to ensure that we have healthy animals for consumption. As a result, some identified animal slaughterhouses in the state were upgraded with modern facilities to ensure healthy animals which are operated under hygienic conditions in the slaughterhouses. Cattle markets were not left behind. Some selected cattle markets in the state were upgraded to ensure safe handling of animals. In the area of climate smart and nutritive sensitive technologies are being sourced. In this area, our ADF, Kano State Agricultural Development, in collaboration with other development partners, sources about 15 number technologies, which over 5,400 farmers benefited just to mitigate climate change impacts. Training is also conducted to farmers, including women, in which over 5,000 women during this year alone were trained on improved technologies on production, processing of some selected staple crops like sorghum, maize, and millet receipts. But with all this, the state is facing some challenges. That's why the state government is open to any partners wishing to develop the state through agricultural sector. With this effort, we are sure we are aiming at addressing the food insecurity in the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner represented here for Kano State and Honorable Commissioner for Kaduna State. Both of you have, in some strong way, elucidated what your states are doing. I would speak now to Nasarawa and Plateau State. Two of your states share something in common. Your states have policies on agriculture. So Nasarawa State has a Nasarawa State policy on agriculture. Plateau State also has a Plateau State policy on agriculture. Now, we would like to learn from you. Do you think your current policies, or how has your current policies supported your efforts in addressing issues of food insecurity?
Thank you very much. Actually, Nasarawa State have a policy on agriculture, and it is based on that policy that His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer A. Sule, is implementing the agricultural policy in the state. Nasarawa State is making a bold strive to transform the agricultural sector into a key economic driver. And the government is committed to revitalizing agriculture. In this effort, it is attracting a lot of investment in the area of agriculture. If you go to Nasarawa State, because of our land, fertility, we have one of the biggest farms in Africa, which is sited in Nasarawa State, the Olam Farms, which is producing millions of tons of agriculture, rice in Nasarawa State. We also have the Asman Farm in Toto local government. And so, in terms of agriculture, I think His Excellency is making a lot of effort, not only on rice. He has paid the counterpart funding for all the projects existing in Nasarawa State who are working in agriculture, particularly the Agricultural Development Project, the Fadama Project through the NG Care Program, and then the Value Chain Agricultural Project, and we have recently the AgriSA project in Nasarawa State. He is creating an enabling environment for farmers and investors to expand their agriculture and related activities in the state. He is providing agricultural inputs such as fertilizer, the seedlings, the chemicals to the farmers in the rural areas to boost agricultural production. And then in an effort to boost agriculture, the government has made arrangements for the procurement of 200 tractors to boost agriculture in Nasarawa State. As I'm talking to you now, over 30 tractors have been supplied to the state, and it has been distributed to all the local government in the state. And this is an effort to boost agriculture. As at last 3 weeks, His Excellency visited China to learn a lot from their agricultural sector, and I think from the vast land we have, we want to tap into the knowledge of China to boost agriculture. So His Excellency is working tirelessly to ensure that agriculture, Nasarawa State is leading in terms of food production with our vast land and the knowledge we acquired. We think going forward, we are supposed to lead in agriculture and the provision of food in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Plateau State, please.
Yeah, so for Plateau State, we've never had it this rough, in the sense that food security has been threatened beyond the usual times that we were dealing with insurgency, where a lot of farmlands have been abandoned. Also, the issue of climate change that has affected most of the southern zone of the state, where crops are wilting. Before now, it is true, we have an agricultural policy in place, but we did not just stop there. We went ahead to develop an implementation matrix where each activity was already drawn and it was to be used as the template. But with the coming of this climate change, we had to do some very quick interventions. For instance, for lands that were abandoned, the government deliberately cultivated 6,000 hectares of land so that the people that abandoned those farms can come back to those lands and cultivate. It was not only cultivated, but seeds were distributed to farmers, and we can confidently say about 50% of those abandoned lands have been recultivated. Now, just like my counterpart said here, we cannot rely on one season, rainy season farming. So with the abundant water resources of the state, we went ahead to identify irrigable lands that have good water sources, and we have profiled them. We have formed farmers into clusters around those areas, and we are just expecting that by the end of this rainy season, we will start dry season in earnest, particularly to crop those ones that are of comparative advantage to us, like wheat, potato, rice, and maize. So we are going to develop those crops starting from this dry season. We did not just stop there again. We discovered that our youths, who are the most in population in the state, are having apathy towards agriculture. So we have trained about 350 in CSS here in Kefi, where basically new agricultural techniques are supposed to be transferred to them, which they have done for the first set, 350. And we expect that very soon the governor will now give them startup to go into farming. Apart from that, again, this particular regime spent a lot on distributing inputs, both fertilizers and seeds. In fact, since the coming of this government, farmers have attested to the fact that they have never enjoyed subsidy like this. There are some that were taken free of charge, and at best, let's say at worst, they paid 50%. of the prices for fertilizers. And most interestingly, what the federal government gave us as palliative, Plateau State got only 55 trucks. And as I'm talking to you now, all have been shared through the use of our farmer database, because you all agree with me that distributing these inputs is normally very difficult, because getting to the target farmer becomes an issue.
Sure.
But we tried as much as possible with having a foresight before the government settled. We developed a farmers database. It's still ongoing. We did that of the southern zone. We've done the central zone. As I'm talking to you, on Monday, the northern zone will commence. And our target is to register 500,000 farmers for this year. Not only registration, but to have a database, what they do, what they produce, what are their challenges, so that it can help us to fine-tune those policies that we developed before now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll move on to, I think, the Zamfara State. I'm going to ask you a very difficult question. Now, I would ask a very difficult question. Now, we're in Nigeria today. There are serious concerns about security. And for agriculture to happen, Plateau State Commissioner was speaking on how lots of farmlands have been abandoned. Now, we'd like to learn from Zamfara State. What is the government doing, or what should the government be doing, or what should other stakeholders be doing to try and address this issue of security, particularly to enhance agricultural production? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. You know, most cases, what people hear outside is not what is really happening there. Thank God you were there just about 2 months ago, and you had a very nice day. Is that true? So the insecurity people are hearing here in Abuja and Kanu and Kaduna is not so as such. We are still into farming. No local government that the people are not farming out of the 14 local government. Of course, nobody can deny that fact that there is no insecurity challenge in Zamfara State, of which adversely affect the production, actually. But that does not mean there was a total, leaving the agricultural production in particular. Let me give you a case study of my own local government, in particular, Gumi local government. In fact, somebody in Gumi will tell you that he doesn't know there is anything like insecurity. Mapara, Bakura, the major local government that were affected is Zurmi, Maradun, and Saifi. At least other local government, they go to farms. If you hear somebody telling you that maybe he just wants to give you an excuse, you don't want to help the farmers, of which is not so. Despite the insecurity challenges, my state governor is doing very well. I just came back from the field yesterday and still traveled to Abuja to supervise the distribution of over 25,000 metric tons of fertilizer free to the farmers. Because when you are talking of governance in Zamfara State, there is nothing you can do to a common man or to anybody in Zamfara than to boost him to do agriculture. Go and see the logo of my car. Farming is my pride. You cannot change that fact. So anybody, even if a military governor is coming to Zamfara, his first area of priority should be agriculture. Take less of my governor who came from the background of farming family. He made Zamfara State, Zamfara Textile abundant for the past 12 years. Currently, we have identified over 100,000 cotton farmers that we are going to be given input to go back to the farm and produce cotton so that the Zamfara Textile will work up. Because we lost over 9,000 employees because of closing that textile. Because they have 3 shifts. Each shift is 3,000 farmers. So imagine 3,000 people every shift, and you are losing 9,000 employees. How do you expect people will sleep well? So that too contributed into insecurity. By the time you bring back the cotton production and you bring the Zamfara Textile into life, a lot of people will be employed, more especially the young people. So definitely you overcome the insecurity challenges. right? So, as we said, the insecurity you are talking about in Zamfara has not affected the farming family as such. People still go to the farm. The only thing it's affected the large-scale farmers, of which most of them are not farming in the actual Zamfara area zones because they have a large, big farms that they produce. But the real farmers, that is the real target farmers, are still producing. You will wonder at the end of the season if you see a farmer carrying his output to the market, you won't believe. You know? So the insecurity is not as such that our farmers doesn't produce. The only thing I would like to chip in from what my boss from Kaduna and Plateau said, you can't do farming without input. That is just a real fact. And the input are very cost. While I was in the Midi-Kada officer and the Minister of Agriculture, there was a time I bought a fertilizer, a bag of fertilizer at 500 naira. Today is 39,000 naira. So you can see the gap, which is very, very difficult for a peasant farmers to assess. Well, what my governor did was to give them 70%. If not, there is no way a peasant farmer can go to farm. And with current insecurity, as you suggested. So for us to bring them back more, we decided to give them about 70% discount to the fertilizer. After giving them the pre-one that was given by the federal government, that is about 70 trucks. We were given 70 trucks, and we have distributed them free. And as my rightly said, my guy in Plateau said, the most difficult aspect of distributing the input is to go to the right people. Because in most cases, they go to the people who doesn't need it. But we make sure that we took every bag to the village and give it to the right people who needed it. That is what our governor did. He gave us all the logistics to make sure that we took that fertilizer to the right place where it's needed. So take it from here and take it from me. That issue of insecurity is not as what people are seeing it to be. Of course, most of the insecurity challenges we have is on the road. Like now, if you are coming from Zamfara, or if you are leaving Zamfara to Sokoto. But when you go to the main farmland, most of them are now a little bit secure. People go to the farm. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner. Now we are going to open up questions to our audience. So if you have a question, just two people in 1 minute, please. Okay, the person in teal, the lady in teal, another person, okay, and the gentleman in pink. Please, can we pass the mic to them in 1 minute, please? Okay. So the lady in teal. Yes. Okay.
All right, good evening, everybody. Quickly, my name is Victor. I just want to say one of hanging fruit for everybody to pinpoint whenever we say why low production yield, people will quickly say insecurity. Now, I am particularly happy with the response from Zamfara around insecurity. But then, what are we doing consciously? Because this is time for us to take action. What are we doing consciously in our various states, individual states, to check what's the impact? Do we have any research ongoing to check the impact of insecurity on farming? That's one. And then secondly, I think this is for Nasarawa states, where they talk about tractors. Again, as a common man, I just want to know what's the distribution structure? What is the process of distributing whatever input we have for farmers? I particularly like what Plateau State said about the fact that they have farmers database, which is very, very important. But how are they doing to mobilize people to do assessment and to know the key farmers that needed these inputs and are collecting them? Thank you.
Thank you. Then the other lady in teal, I think. Okay, we can pass it on to someone else. Okay, that lady. Yes, thank you. Oh.
My question goes to, the first question I want to ask goes to the Nasarawa State Commissioner of Agriculture. My question comes this way. You said Nasarawa State has a large rice farm in Africa. If I'm not wrong, I heard that. Now, the question I want to ask is that if that is the case, by logic, it means it can feed Africa. Now, if that is the case, why is the rice in the Nasarawa State this high in price? It's costly to buy a mudu of rice. Why is it not cheap? Because if it has the largest rice farm in Africa, it cannot be cheap in that state. I think it's ironic. That's one. So what is it this costly? Why you are saying it's the largest farm in Africa? Secondly, this goes to everybody there on the panel. The question, can the states have a way to control food price that we experience in each state? Can the state governor, through the state commissioner, I don't know, can the states control food price? Because when you farm, you know, the impacts that the estate farms and that there is food is through the price. If you have food in the state and you cannot buy it to eat the food, I mean, that means it's like there's no food. So please, can't each state control price in market? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we'll just be able to take 2 questions for now. Over, Prof.
I think you addressed to Nasarawa State and Plateau State.
It's okay. Good morning once more. The first question was about the distribution of these tractors being procured by the state government to boost agriculture. In Ministry of Agri, I think we have a standing committee that look at the peculiarity of each of the local government, and it is the responsibility of this committee to identify who are supposed to use this tractor at a particular time. So government have a structure on how to distribute this tractor. They know their farmers, and then allocation of this tractor is based on those people that we feel can utilize the tractor to boost agriculture. Then secondly, we have the issue of somebody asking whether Olam is the largest farm. It is on record that Olam is the largest rice farming in Africa, and everybody in Nigeria knows that. But it doesn't mean that we have the largest farm of rice in Africa and it's supposed to feed the whole of Nigeria. No. Farming of rice is not peculiar to only Olam farm. There are other farms in the country, and I believe that by the time they process this right, they distribute it across the country. It's not only because we have the largest farm in Nasarawa State, and we believe that the whole of Africa will be fed by this particular farm. So let's not have the impression that that farm can feed the whole of Africa and the price of rice will go down. So that is my take. Thank you.
Okay, so let me attempt to answer the questions directed at Plateau. The first question was whether there's a research to attest to the fact that insecurity brings about food food shortages. Sometimes, before you go into the research, you understand through some basic observations, like the increase in price cannot just be accredited to, or cannot be credited to only rise in cost of inputs. If, for instance, you were cultivating 200 hectares in a community, and about 50% of that land is no longer cultivated, common sense makes you understand that the quantity of food that will come out will be less. So before a scientific approach is applied where people are sent to take data, you already conclude that there's a shortage due to this particular reason. Now, if you go to the issue of database that you asked, you said, how are we sure we are getting the right kind of people into the database, if I get you right? Now, before now, we have farmers associations. We have been working with our ADPs who have their farmers that they work with. We have introduced a community cluster system where we direct our inputs through those kind of settlements. You know, we don't have enough inputs to give everybody. But of course, if we farm, or like the process I told you, mechanization, by the time we finish farming a particular piece of land, the people are already there showing you their plots. And then we follow it with seeds and then with fertilizers. We will do more because it's like all of them agreed with me. It's very difficult to give this because people are hungry. People can just fake to be farmers to collect these inputs. But we will keep improving until our database has some sense of integrity, where we can say that 80 to 90% of the people that are getting our inputs are the real farmers. Then the last one that was thrown to all of us, which is about the price control. You see, the role of government actually is just to create the enabling environment for the private sector. So when the farmer gets good prices, some of us are happy inside because it is making him and encouraging more people to go into the business. Farming is supposed to be like a business. However, if food goes beyond the common man, it becomes a problem. So by the time government subsidizes fertilizer, government encourages good pricing, though harmful to the ordinary man, I think the law of demand and supply determines price, isn't it? So rather, to force people to bring down the price of food is a Herculean task. Rather, government should give more support for more production, and naturally the price will come at the level of the ordinary man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I want to also respond to that last question that applies to all of us. You know, rising food prices is a big challenge. But I will say the steps we're making as a state in Kaduna. You know, livestock is one area that we're also doing very well because, you know, Olam hatchery is there with the feed mills. So you realize that, especially for maize, the demand has skyrocketed. Yes, our farmers' productivity is enhanced. They are producing so much. But you know, processors, value addition is a very positive thing. It drives the demand. So if a farmer does 1,000 bags, for instance, the market is there ready to absorb it. So we're happy about that. But we're consciously doing something as a state, grain buffer stock. Like in the next 2 months, it will be harvest period. At that time, prices will be low. There is a provision in our budget for us to ramp up and fill up our reserves, which will serve like a buffer. As the time moves, you know, prices will keep rising. Periodically, when prices go high, you release quantities to the market. Demand and supply forces. That way, we feel it will moderate prices. And also the issue of security and its impact, insecurity and its impact on productivity, you'll be shocked to realize that in Kaduna State, Birnungwari is the most troubled local government. But you realize our biggest farmer as of last year was from Birnungwari. One farmer did about 23,000 bags of maize. And the thing is, we have to consciously address these issues. We can't surrender to these miscreants. So they do everything to protect themselves using the security forces, and as a government, there is a production corridor between Rigachukun all the way to Dogondawa, behind the airport. It's a cluster of commercial farms that were abandoned because of this insecurity. The government is deliberately making a strategy to secure that corridor because the commercial farmers largely contribute to this food security issue. Yes, the smallholder farmers are supported with inputs, but you realize one farmer alone can do what 1,000 farmers, smallholder farmers does. So with that improved security along that corridor, and we're also attracting private sector investors to come and do these commercial farms, which is what I said we are doing. We are partnering to create new corridors of irrigation facilities, such that during the dry season, people can come, you can come and rent 300 hectares, 500 hectares, since the place is already planned and irrigated. So we believe this way it will ramp up productivity, and that is the only way to solve the food security problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let me just add one word, and maybe they didn't think of when you are talking of pricing production. I believe if you come from Kaduna to Abuja day before yesterday, if you come 700, today somebody coming here is paying 1,500. Am I right? So since you don't have a stable price of fuel or diesel, and which contribute much in bringing the production to the market, obviously the price will never be stable. That is just a real fact. Somebody bringing his commodity from the market, maybe he is bringing a 10 bags of maize from Birnungwari to Kaduna at a cost of 2,000, as at Friday last week. By Wednesday, yesterday, he is now bringing it at a cost of 3,000 or 4,000. So how do you expect him to sell it the same price that he sold last week? So we have to face the reality of this uncertain fuel price and diesel price, which affect the market.
Sure.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are running out of time, but recognizing that we're in a gender and inclusion summit, so we'll especially take two questions, one from the Association of Women in Trade and Agriculture, and the second from the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities. So we'll take two more questions, one from Awita and one from Junapid.
And I think there are also people online who have questions. So if you're online, you can please drop your question in the chat box.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for reading my mind. I was going to say gender inclusion, which is all about this program. And I'm so happy that the commissioners are all here. We are going to really be engaging them at the state levels for AWITA, Association of Women in Trade and Agriculture. And all my state coordinators are here, so as you are coming down from that stage, they are going to be holding you, sirs. However, like my concern has been on inclusion. All that have been spoken by everybody, no one has mentioned the cluster or the bit that is apportioned to women. And like the tractor distribution, I was going to ask, is it for free? Is it supposed to be rented? Are there people that will drive the tractor for the women in their farms? At what point is it going to be the turn of the women to get these tractors for their small farms? We are not talking about even the commercial farms here now. And we know that women are the drivers of this economy. Women form 80% of the labor force when it comes to even the agricultural value chain. At least, even if not for commercial purpose, for the purpose of feeding the family, producing what you can eat and eat what you can produce, to also alleviate poverty and give the assurance of food security. So, what will be the assurance of women, faith of women, as it concerns all that the commissioners are saying, so that we can have a takeaway from here, and to know that as we are engaging you at the state level, we are also being assured that there is inclusion for gender. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last question from Jonapid, please. Jonapid.
Good morning, all. My name is Shindol Aaron. I'm the Jonapid chairman, Plateau State. I have a serious concern, and let me say we have a serious concern. One of the moderators, when he was asking a question, he made reference to persons with disabilities. And from the submission, literally there is no visibility of persons with disability from the submission we've just received. I've been wondering, now if we have to be honest to ourselves, when things get so bad, persons with disability are the most heated. They are always at the receiving end. They are the most destitute in every given community. I made a little research some times back, and I discovered that persons with disabilities are running high in terms of trying to go into entrepreneurs. And it is not because they want to do it, it's just because when you go to talk about issue of employment, nobody wants to listen to them. They are discriminated against. Everything that has to do with them that will enhance their means of livelihood, nobody wants to listen to them. So as a result, they resort to all those other little things to do. And when you're talking of agriculture, they are also there. But with no inclusion when it comes to distribution of farm implements and other things. My commissioner from Plateau State, some weeks, is it weeks, months, thereabout, youths were sent on training. No single representative of person of disability. And that kept giving us serious concern. And I believe it's almost applicable across the state. Now the question is, where is the place of persons with disabilities in your policies? If we have a place, are they being implemented? Because truly we are left out and we need attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that question. Given the time we have, we'll just ask 1 minute response from each of the states because we want to hear your voices. And one good thing that the Policy Innovation Center does is create a platform for voices to be heard. And so we'd like to just have 1 minute response on the subject. Thank you.
Okay. Can I go first?
Yes,
Can I?
Yes, sir.
Well, the good news is that in Kaduna State, I will tell you, the gender inclusion policy has been domesticated long ago. And the support we gave to farmers during the year, distribution of farm inputs, equipments like power tillers, to talk to the gender, value addition, grinding machines, threshing machines, you know, in the cooperatives that we gathered, the rule we set was that 40% of the membership of each cooperative must be women, and it's there. And when we distributed for livestock, birds, and fisheries, that one was nearly 90% women. The videos were all over. My commissioner for human services and social development is here. She's in charge of women. She does not allow us, she won't even allow you to rest. Everything for women is done. I can tell you that. Go to Kaduna State, you see it, even in terms of appointments. Then the persons living with disabilities, the same thing. They are included. most of the programs that we have, we give emphasis because we cannot afford to exclude this critical set of people. So I will tell you, in Kaduna State, we are gender inclusive. I mean, it's evident, even in the cabinet. So I don't think we are experiencing that exclusion in Kaduna State. Thank you very much.
So,
Thank you. Can we do it by state? So if Kaduna, the next is Kano, and then Kano State's response.
Thank you very much. Kano State, when it comes to gender, is serious on that. In the case of distribution of inputs to farmers in the state, gender is considered because all the agriculture input being distributed, gender is seriously being considered. Just like my counterpart from Kaduna State has said, there is the Ministry of Women Affairs, which is in charge of all women activities, as well as women with special needs, as well as people with special needs. So the ministry is in close collaboration with the Ministry of Women Affairs when it comes to either empowerment of agricultural activities or any assistance to our farmers. We ensure that gender is considered. In terms of training, when you go to our ADP, there is a specific unit which is called Women in Agriculture, WIA. Their purpose is to train women on basic agricultural innovations that will improve their productions. At that level, we even have deputy directors who are women, who are running that unit. When you come to our State Executive Council, just similar to Kaduna, about 6 women are there in the cabinet. So Kano State is doing a lot under the able leadership of Engineer Abubakar Yusuf to work inclusive.
Our governor is running an inclusive administration where disabled people and women are included in his administration. In all spheres, in terms of agriculture, women affairs activities, and whatever. I want to give this House an opportunity that presently in this hall, we have our head of service, who is a woman, being recognized by the executive governor of Nasarawa State. The head of service is a woman and is in front of us here. So His Excellency, the governor of Nasarawa State, is recognizing the women in all his activities, particularly, as I said earlier, on the distribution of tractors. Women are also allocated certain numbers of tractors to boost the agriculture in Nasarawa State. So Nasarawa State is running an inclusive government where all are recognized, like I said, both the vulnerable people and the women. Ministry of Women Affairs is doing all it can. Anytime there's any activity, you see Ministry of Women Affairs championing the cause of including women in the activities. In our State House of Assembly, in our State Executive Council, we are recognizing, the governor is recognizing women. So women are very important in implementing agricultural activities in our state. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Plateau State, please.
Yes, to that extent, to lead my voice on what he has said, our governor is a women-friendly governor. In fact, to the extent that we used to have a department in the agriculture ministry called home economics. In fact, it has been changed to gender and nutrition to emphasize the role of women in agriculture and how they can benefit. If you go to our state today, the governor gave an order that all the secretaries of the local government should be women. So if at the local government level, women are in the forefront, it means women will speak for themselves. And of course, you know, women will always ask for more. Then for my disability, the guy that acts on disability, we have a Disability Rights Commission in the state with an executive secretary. And it's very active, And even if you look at the distribution list of our fertilizers and other inputs, they are adequately captured in all this. We can still do more, and with what she has said, we'll get more of their requests, and we'll see how much we can put and include them in our programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then next to Zamfara State, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. You know, whenever you talk of Zamfara, there are two things that come to the people's mind: religious and insecurity. Whether we like it or not, that's how it is. But there are things that you cannot change. Right now, it's not, I won't even say it's a standing order because it has already been implemented. There is not any ministry where a woman is not a director. There is no any organization that no woman is a director. That is a standing rule, and it has been implemented. Let me give you an example. In the Ministry of Agriculture right now in Zamfara, the Director of Nutrition is a woman. In the IPAD program, there is a woman who is heading a department. In the ADP, there is a woman heading the way, where we call it Women in Agriculture. In the Zakara program, we have a woman that is heading the Women in Agriculture. So for any woman to come to Zamfara, I can challenge.
A big thank you to the moderator and to the panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we can do a louder applause to celebrate them. Thank you. All right, so we've just had the breakout sessions, and I believe that other people who are in the alternate breakout rooms will be coming in. We'll be moving into the plenary session, and we look forward to exciting conversations ahead. So we'll take about 30 seconds to 1 minute to just get seated, get ready for the plenary conversations as people from other breakout rooms also join